Holy crap, we're back.
It's good to be with the boys.
What up,
It's been a hot
dudes?
minute.
Yeah. And got the whole crew back.
We are doing it.
Logan, where the hell you been?
Where have I not been is actually a more appropriate question. And that is nowhere. I have not been nowhere. I've been everywhere. It's just been wild. Setting up and tearing down, and got some guys staying at the house. So Bo and Jace have been here for about a week now, training and stuff. So we got the bucket machine rolling yesterday, and just all kinds of things. You name a story. I can provide entertainment for hours. All the things that have happened over the last couple weeks, from skunk killings to rodeo setups and midnights. Anyway, it's been wild. And before I forget, I have to go on record and say that I'm sorry to all those people that I recommended those creatine gummies to, and I sent the link to the creatine gummies. So there was like this thing in which Paul shared a reel on how creatine gummies, the majority of them don't actually have a viable amount of creatine in there. And I'm like, there's probably other brands. It's not my brand. So then I did a little bit of a deep dive and found some studies, and the creatine gummies have creatine in them. In order for you to get your 5 grams, you only have to have 8,000 a day. Yes. Turns out if it's cheap and easy, it's probably too good to be true.
Probably too good to be true.
I'm surprised yet not surprised that you fell for this.
There's just been a lot of people, probably a dozen people I've sent that link to I'm sorry.
Well, unfortunately, they're not the only suckers, because they were not the only brand that didn't have a lot of creatine in it, man. It's like a lot of them, and some of them, one of them was this expensive brand. They're selling them for like $60 a package.
Do you remember any of the other brand names?
Push was one of them. They were one that was like marketing themselves as like a luxury creatine gummy brand, and super high markup on this product and stuff, and like no creatine in the gummies at all. So like you're buying $60 bag of like Sour Patch Kids, basically.
It's like not funny to me. It's really not funny.
It's not funny because like I mean it is, but it isn't.
It's mild
like,
that we can.
Their sales on Amazon was like outrageous. Like they were making so much bank on Amazon selling these gummies that had nothing in them other than sugar.
What made me mad was that I had just spent $50 on the whole summer supply of them around about 22 hours before you sent that reel. They got delivered like as soon as I finished watching that reel. It's like, knock knock, oh, here's your creatine gummies. And I'm like, wait just a minute here, can I send these back? Or
take them back.
Yeah, I was real disappointed because I just spent some money.
Why don't you try and return them?
I'm going to. Yeah, we're going to send them back for sure. Sending them back. Happium is the brand that I have used, and they were like $16 for supposedly a 90 gummies, which is 45-day supply. Theoretically, technically, it's not even a 1-hour supply. 90 gummies, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Some of the ones, so like obviously the powder is usually tried and true, especially if you're buying from a reputable company, but like there were some that did contain the amount of creatine that at least the ones that they did these studies on, or the third party testing. Create was one, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one I'm doing.
Create was good, and then there was one more. Oh man, I'd have to go back through the post because it was James Smith who had done all the testing and stuff, and he had mentioned which ones. I don't know. If I find it, I'll bring it back up. But James Smith was, he said Create was one of them for sure that was legit, or at least had the same amount or similar amount to what they
say
claimed was in there.
I think they claim 1.5 grams a gummy or something like that.
Yeah, it's like you get like
3
3.5 serving, which is 3 gummies, I think. Or, yeah, whatever.
Sorry if you hear a baby in the man is chatty.
Yeah.
You might hear a baby in the
Yeah, you know,
background
my
over here. I
kid's
got
screaming
Jace, the
too.
15-year-old. He sometimes makes some baby sounds.
Thanks, Norris.
Yeah. One of the first brands of the creatine gummies that I think I ever saw was Animal. That brand has been around forever, like in GNCs and like all the supplement stores and stuff. I've never tried them, but that was the first time I'd ever seen them. And I would wonder if there's, like I said, they've been around forever. They're not one of these like just pop-up brands. I wonder if theirs are any good.
Be worth checking out. The biggest thing here is just do some research if you're going to be buying supplements. We said that for years. And now the shitty thing is the price doesn't matter or make it a quality product just because it's expensive. Obviously, what Paul was just talking about, some luxury creatine brand, which just blows my mind that someone could bring those two things together.
Cheapest supplement on the market.
Yeah, they're just ripping people off. That's wild. But needless to say, do some research. Don't just trust everything you see on Instagram and Facebook because marketing is wild these days. You can make anything look good. Literally anything. Rodeo-wise, what's going on? We're freaking... Calgary just ended. Cheyenne's about to start. We are in it. The standings are... Dude, Calgary just flipped everything on its head. Zeke got another one. What says the fourth one? Fifth one?
He's just racking them up.
Dude racks them up everywhere. What do we think, Logan? You been gone?
Man,
Where you? Come on.
I think Cooper, I was just waiting for... I didn't really have anything valuable to add to the conversation. I think Cooper Cook
That's never stopped before.
That's fair, has been slept on. And at least it was extremely impressive performance up there for little Cooper. So he had a really disappointing finals last year. I know that he got in there and then like it just didn't go the way that he wanted it to. And so it's so cool. I think what I can appreciate about it is that it would be really easy for not having a good NFR, especially your first NFR, to be a defining moment for you and be like, maybe I didn't belong there. But instead, he just kept going and he just won Calgary. And he proved in the rides that I watched that he belongs in the top 15 easily. He rides just as good as any of those guys. And so as somebody that allowed those moments, not that I ever went to the finals, but I allowed those moments to really define belief about myself and where I was at. I think it's so cool that he can bounce back from not an ideal finals to come back and win something like Calgary. And he's going to be back at the finals this year. And I find it very hard to believe that he'll have another disappointing NFR. He's probably going to cash in. So I think that's awesome.
It was really cool. Those rides were insane. Noisy 94 on Disco Party.
Incredible.
And just incredible ride. And it, like you said, he looks like a different athlete this year. He looks, in his riding style, it's much more controlled. He looks stronger. The way he's built, you really couldn't tell if he worked out or not, just because that's how those long, tall guys are. It doesn't look like he's any bigger or anything, but you can tell a difference in his strength in his rides for sure. And I think that was a big part of the NFRs. It's hard. It's hard on the body. You're getting on 10 of the best ones, period. And if you're not, it's a big wake-up call if you're not prepared, because you can get away with 3 a week, 4 a week for a whole season. But when it's 10 in a row, things change, and then you really get to see the holes in your game.
Yeah, it'd be great to have a conversation with him. I don't know that I've ever actually spoken to him in person, which is super uncommon. I know most of those guys fairly well, and I would love to have a conversation with him or just listen to what that NFR did for him mentally and what kind of, everybody's probably pretty familiar with Tim's story and that Tim's first NFR. I mean, he got freight trained and he, leaving Vegas, saw the Thomas and Mack out the window of the airplane. He was like, the next time I come here, it'll be different. And he's got 3 gold buckles to back that up. And so be interesting to hear Cooper's take on a poor first NFR and what that did for him mentally.
I'm pretty certain we can make that happen.
Yeah, it'd be
Pretty
awesome.
certain. I message him on Instagram every now and then. Just bullshit with him. I met him a handful of times, and I got to watch his first round of the championship Sunday, and it got on, what's that bay horse of Vold's? I can't remember. You should know this.
I should.
You should. Anyways, the
True Grit?
True Grit. Yep. Thank you from
Bingo.
the Bull Rider.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had his results pulled up.
Oh, perfect. True Grit, yeah. But there was a point in that ride where, you know, when things are going so fast and your brain tries to think in the middle of it, and you're like, no, just keep going, just spur. There was a point about halfway in that ride where you could see his brain kind of like, not glitch, but there was a moment where he said, you better go, and like double time go, and he did. And that, to see people, and it's, most of the common people aren't going to see it, but us, we break this stuff down every single day. We do in our academies and stuff. We can see things happen in the middle of rides that I don't even think the rider knows is happening at times with their brain and body connection. So it was cool to see that. So I texted him or messaged him on Instagram, and I was like, awesome, dude. That was way to hustle. Like, keep going. I said, go do it again. And he messaged me back, and he's like, heck yeah. He's like, dude, I just told myself, don't stop. Like, it's go. And I said, and I watched the short round. He's 94. And I just wrote back. I said, you did it again. And he's like, we freaking did it again. 50 grand, man. What a day. Congrats to him. That was cool to see. Like you were saying, Logan, I love to watch that and see someone. Ty Murray talked about the sophomore slump like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I made it. And I don't think that's what happened to him, but I think that after, like you were saying, Logan, that kind of experience, it'd be easy to lay off the gas and just say, oh, like, felt good to make it. I'll just see what happens. And I don't know, like, we don't know what he did, but obviously that wasn't the case. He did the opposite and has pedaled down, and it's really going well for him. So I love to see it. And what else is going on? What's going on in the bull riding world, Paul?
Man, I'd say, like, you could say Wasey Shaw's like in the same boat.
Woo!
Like, he had kind of a disappointing finals last year.
Did.
You know, like, I think he maybe stayed on one, and it was at the end of the week. And I don't think anybody doubted that he belonged there. I definitely don't think he did. But I mean, shoot, dude, he's freaking. If it wasn't for Stetson being Stetson, like, Wasey would be running away with the bull riding standings right now. But yeah, I mean, he's got almost $300,000 won. Stetson's in second behind him. Like, kids got the stuff, man.
Have you looked at how many like bull runs and rodeos they've been to?
How many they have been to?
Yeah, like up to
Like,
this
how many
point in the
guys there
season.
been to so far?
I don't know.
It's pretty interesting. I've gone through a couple different times. This is before Calgary, right? Rocker's number 1, Bradley is number 2. And I've gone through a couple different times over the last few weeks and counted rodeos. And it was really impressive.
How
that
much
Rocker
time do
was-
you have?
It doesn't take very long to just go through and count them. But
I'm just best.
if I go through and count rodeos, and Rocker was winning the world and had been to like 23 rodeos, and Bradley was in second and had been to like 37 or 39. It was crazy, the difference between
Is
the
it just
two
him, Paul?
as far as their rodeo
it's just
count
him.
is concerned. And that's something that we
love the
always
face
just
that's
look at the
frozen
year-end
on him now.
standings,
I
but
don't know what
looking
to
at
do.
the rodeo count
thought
as
you were
well,
so still,
how
I
many
thought you were
rodeos are these
frozen
guys
back.
going to win that 300,000, and seeing who's the
He's
most
got to come back.
efficient, I think is pretty.
No.
It's pretty eye-opening.
Gonna be some editing in this one.
That's all right. That's why we're into script, baby. I'll be interested to see what happens here. Anyways, back to what he was talking about. What was he talking about?
Back to what he was
Oh,
talking about. Well, if I'm just
Yeah, go ahead.
if I'm just scanning like Wasey's rodeo count here, like, he hasn't been to very much. He really didn't start going until kind of the middle of Elizabeth, Colorado, and then Vernal. Like, Wasey went to the winter rodeos, went to a handful in March, and when I say handful, I mean like literally 4, and then really didn't start going until the second week of June. And so he's been at least according to PRCA's website. And it also doesn't have Calgary on here yet for him. So maybe there's some other ones missing, but it looks like he has not been to very many yet so far this year.
Logan, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what
And
happened
he's winning
there.
the standings.
I
I don't know.
Your
It just
internet went
froze out.
from 100 to like 40 really quick, and then
Yeah.
all of us are gone. Anyways, okay, how many? You're looking at bareback riding rides, or rodeos been to? What did you find?
I found, sorry, I guess I cut out, but Rocker was winning, and it had been to like 24 rodeos or something. And Bradley was second, but had been to like over 40. And it was crazy to me, thinking about, I always think about world standings, and I always think about money won, but there's another aspect of their money spent and the amount of rodeos that you go to, and looking at, if you took the amount of money won divided by the rodeos that they went to, and looking at like every time they nod their head or every rodeo they go to, right? Because some of them were the Calgarys or the St. Antones or the Houstons, where there's multiple horses at one rodeo. So it's not necessarily every time they nod their head, but based on the amount of average money that they win per rodeo that they enter. And Rockers, I remember the number exactly, was $6,500 per rodeo he averaged. And it's like, man, that's a really, really impressive feat. And I think should be what we all strive for, is efficiency. Entering not over our head. It doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're going to IPRA rodeos or whether you're going to, but entering those rodeos where we can be as efficient as possible in making money and getting paid to learn. At those lower levels, we're learning, but how can I win $300 or $400 or $500 or $1,000, make some mistakes, still be 76, and like, okay, cool, now I know what to go work on. And we don't have to go broke trying to learn the sport, if that makes sense. So now that's obviously just elevated to a whole nother, they spend $6,000 in entry fees over the 4th of July alone. It's elevated to a whole nother level when you're talking about pro rodeoing and you're talking about the number one guy in the world. But I think that's something that is admirable in making the most amount of money at the least amount of rodeos.
Oh, I think that's the goal, or should be. We start talking about everything we've ever talked about in this sport and the changes that could happen that would make careers longer or potentially make careers longer. Obviously, there's lots of things we can't control in the sport, but man, being able to cut down on the volume of competition and increase the money earned each time you're getting on that is the ultimate goal. And I think that's a huge shout out to Rocker. You're doing it right. And go ahead.
I think it's the ultimate goal for the majority of the population. However, there are quite a few that I know that just love rodeoing. They don't like being home. They'll be entered every day. It doesn't matter if it's 2,000 added or if it's 20,000 added. They just want to go rodeo. And I don't necessarily know that approach I wouldn't call it wrong. I would say that as far as longevity is concerned, if this is something that you want to make millions of dollars at and you would like to retire from and not have to go work a job, it's not ideal for that outcome. Could it be done? Sure, it could, but it's not ideal. You're going to be done sooner than the guy that gets on 60 head a year or 70 head a year. The guy that gets on 120 is just naturally going to be done sooner than if he was to spread that volume out. So
I have a question. I think I get that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that being how you feel about it, right? If someone's like, I want to be on, I love the life, I want to be on the road. Those guys that are getting on 60 or whatever, 70 in a year and making this $200K before we get to the NFR, do you think that they don't love it too?
No, I agree.
And that's
with
like not a you question. That's just a
I think you're right. I think that they also love it. What I find is that Rocker is pretty well an anomaly for his age. I see that kind of mentality with guys like Caleb before he retired, guys like Richie.
Maturing,
it's maturity and it's responsibility in having a wife and having kids, and our desires starting to not only exist in the arena. And so I see it as more of a maturity thing, but they've learned how to temper that. And they've learned that the arm yankings and the $200 paychecks just aren't worth it. yes, they love rodeo and they would love to be at another one today. But instead, we're going to go home and we're going to give our body rest. And I'm going to wait until I can nod for $6,000 and I can make the abuse worth it.
I agree with all of that. I feel like the people that shy away from that because they say they just love to go and want to keep getting on, and it's not about that. It's almost a deflection to the discipline that it takes to be great. They don't want to do the hard thing. They'd rather just keep getting on. I mean, that's still hard. It's still cool. But they don't. I think their self-image is messed up. I don't think they actually think they can make it. They're happy with that 16 through 20 place. Like, hey, I'm still a top 20 bareback rider or whatever. And this is all, I'm just talking out of my ass here. But that's as far as the top 20 and all that stuff. And bareback riders, I'm just like, this is, again, I think there's nothing wrong with having that feeling and loving it. But at the end of the day, if you really love it and really want to keep doing it, as long as you possibly can and not go home, you're doing the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, you're sending yourself home earlier
Eventually,
as opposed to later. Yeah. I would absolutely agree with that. I think that it's a hard line to walk between loving rodeo and wanting to be entered, but also showing the maturity and using your brain a little bit, because your brain's not super helpful when it comes to a sport like bareback riding. That's maybe why we do so much damage to it. But thinking is typically the last thing that needs to be done when it comes to the sport. But there's such a science, and there is a lot of thinking that needs to go in behind entering strategy and what rodeos do we go to or what rodeos don't. And I think I agree with you. I think that it's a cop-out to maybe not do some of that hard work. That's the real hard work in planning out. I had a beau from Australia comes over for 6 weeks to go to some rodeos. You know how many hours I spent trying to plan things, trying to find rodeos for him to go to, and trying to okay, I think that he can go here, like he could go here, we could get a ride for him there. It was a task in and of itself just to try to find some open rodeos that a guy could go to, let alone hammering through your entering strategy to get to that top tier level. So do you find, Paul, with your bull riders and stuff, do you find that they err on the side of just going all the time, or?
Yeah, but it's almost hard to say which one proves to work better, if that makes sense. I agree, there's something about, if you want to be unique, if you want to be the standout, if you want to be the best, there's obviously something to that saving your body. You could call it the Casey Field effect, where he goes the least amount of rodeos and wins the most amount of money. In the bull riding, though, in order to be great, a lot of guys need those reps, at least early on. So the two people that came to mind, well, there's really three, because I could say JB would fall in there. But if I think about JB, Sage, and Josh, JB and Sage could both be in the GOAT conversation. JB got on more bulls than anybody else most years that he was going, especially early on. Josh, in order to get to the level that he's at, also had to do the same thing. I think, maybe not last year, but the year before and the year before that, so 2 years prior, was getting on more bulls than anybody else pretty much on the planet. Sage had, 2014, his first gold buckle, got on 138. But then in 2019, his sixth gold buckle got on 80. So there were, and it was gradually fewer, as the years went on. Not by much, but 10 less the next year, 10 less the next year, and so
I think we're talking about two separate things here. And we were talking about the same thing, but their career are very different in the advice that we're giving. Logan and I were talking about is more of that top 40. They need to be smarter about how they are entering because they've already put in the reps. And I think that does get confusing because I've had someone ask me the other day, a younger guy, and he's like, so I need to like only get on the ones I know are going to be decent for me. I'm like, no, you just need to go to trusted facilities or trusted stock contractors to do that. But when you're young, you have to put in the reps. The thing we're saying is a lot of these kids are replacing or mistaking that reps will outweigh strength and conditioning and mental work and all these things. A lot of these young kids don't even have the physical capacity to handle an animal this strong. So you going and get on a horse or a bull or another one, and just one after another, you're not getting any better because you're not physically strong enough to handle those reps and make the most out of them. So these young kids, yes, you need the reps. You need a shit ton of them, but you have to be strong enough and capable of actually performing those reps for them to work. And that's where it's getting mixed up. We have guys, well, I'm just going to keep getting on. And I've been pumping a new program this last week. And so I've had a ton of conversations with young athletes. 95% of them are entering 2 to 3 rodeos a week per month. They're not putting any money into their training. And I said, and I'm not sitting there saying, oh, like you need to be training. I'm literally asking for videos. I'm asking to see examples of what's going on. And they're getting too jumped. And the fact of the matter is, they're capable of doing the fundamentals. They're just not strong enough to do them and execute them properly. And so we start talking to these kids, and I have another question I want to ask go from this with you, Paul. But these kids.
You're muted.
Wow, did I just mute that whole thing?
Well, no. Just you said you have another question you want to ask Paul, and then you kept going.
I don't know why that muted. That's weird. So 2 to 3 rodeos a week they're entering. Let's say it's $100 an entry fee. That's $300 a week. That's $1,200 a month you are paying to get better at getting on, and you haven't made any progress. We start talking about investing in yourself. $25 a week, $50 a week, $50 a week, $200 a month. Dude, you only have to go to 2 less rodeos a month to start having chances at actually improving those other rides that you're getting on because you are increasing your strength, which is going to increase your confidence. Boom. Go ahead.
And I think that I know that you have a question you want to ask Paul, so I just want to interject. I think that I love how it is a different topic, but it is the same in the sense that I see a lot of guys, myself included, that wanted to act like I was an NFR bareback rider without actually being one. And so I turn out the stuff that thing's no good, and instead of when I really should have gone to get on it, it wasn't dangerous. I just didn't think I could place. I needed the reps. I needed to go and get on. And I think that we saw a little bit of that. A good example was in the ERA days when you take the best in the world that were getting on 80 to 100 head a year, and now they only get on 20 head in a year. And the difference in the riding, their riding for the most part went down. And because there was a lack of repetition there. So there has to be an ebb and a flow. Make no mistake about it. Unless you're top 20 in the world, you need to be going. You need to be going. You need to be getting on. You need to be investing in yourself to make sure that you have the skill set as well as the strength and the athleticism to perform your event. That's number one. But you need to be going. Assuming that we have those things, you need to be going. Now, once we get to that top level and we've maybe been to the finals before or we're on our way to our first one, then we can start to play the books a little bit more and look at things from a more business standpoint. But at some point in time, you don't get to that step without getting on about everything you draw. Sorry, you got to go. It just is what it is. You got to figure it out.
It goes back to just the numbers you were talking about with Sage. Got on 100 and what'd you say? 38?
38.
Like 138 his first NFR.
And then,
or not his first
qualification.
First
and then it went in almost kind of half after that. But he had established getting those reps. And another thing we haven't talked about, and I still got this, what I'm going to ask Paul, but the leveling up in competition. So what I mean by that is it takes a second to get used to the speed of professional rodeo or something like that. That's why another reason the reps are so important is because it's a big change from any kind of amateur thing you've been doing. Well, bull riding can kind of, amateur rodeo can kind of get rank in the bull riding, but for the most part, it's going to be a lot different. And so it takes a lot of time to dial that all in and the systems that go along with it. No one understands how much really goes into this. It's not just the riding. It's not just the strength. It's the entering. It's the finances. There's so many things that you have to figure out. And that's why getting your feet wet when you are physically and mentally ready quickly is a good thing, because it's kind of you're ready for that trial by fire at that point. You need that at this point in your career. There's a lot of guys that are doing that trial by fire way too early, and they are setting themselves backwards on the trajectory that they could be accomplishing.
Yeah. This is maybe an unpopular take. I'm going to say it anyway. I judge very minimally, okay? I realize that in the grand scheme of judging, my perspective is almost a joke. However, even at my perspective, it is very difficult to not form unconscious biases. And I believe that when you go to pro rodeos before you're ready and you do not ride well, you're not competent in your ability, and you spend a year or two getting notches on your belt and learning and growing, but you're not riding well, I believe that affects you later on. 3 years later, after you have figured it out and you've been going to the same pro rodeos for 3 years now, subconsciously, there's a little bit of like, that was a good spur ride, but that kid doesn't ride very good. And so instead of marking the animal, a 22 on a 19, you're marked a 20 on an 18. That's a big difference in points. And I believe that happens more than we like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good spur ride that if somebody else made it, you'd have been 5 more. But the fact is that you came in before you were really ready and spent a lot of time not being good. And that gets burned in people's brains. Mm-hmm. And right, wrong, or indifferent. It's not a conscious decision that they're like, I don't like that kid, I'm going to scream. Maybe sometimes it is. But I'm going to say, by and large, it's not that. It's just that they develop a profile. You develop a profile based on past experiences. And typically speaking, you suck. And you didn't suck right there. So there must be something off.
Yeah, weak horse.
Either you're getting it figured out, or that was a really easy horse.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really easy horse is the most natural thing. And so I mark it appropriately, and you're 5 points less than what you should be.
I swear that was me. I did the exact same
I
thing.
believe it.
I made tons of rides that I thought I should have been 80 or more, and I'd be like 78, 79. But my first 2 years, I barely had a qualified ride over 65 points. It took me getting on a Wise Guy to finally 80, because they cut me on that one.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, that one has NFR tags on its butt. Like he actually spurred him. We have to give it to him. But it took 5 years for that to happen and for things to turn around. So you're right on the money, man. That's human nature.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And we haven't touched on the judging, because I just feel like it's an absolute lost cause lately, and just nothing's ever going to change with that. It is kind of sad to see. Man, I was really disappointed with Calgary's stock and the riding, especially. Any big rodeo like that, I fully understand. It's hard to match up pins, but it literally looked like they just threw numbers in the pot and said, yep, these horses are today, these horses are tomorrow. They just draw them out. There it is. There was no thought or strategy to how they set those pins whatsoever. And if it was, and all those horses had that many off days, I stand corrected. But
there was quite a few that
it's a bummer.
Made a mad dash for the hills. There was quite a few.
And no
I saw
rerides,
that.
no options,
Yeah,
no
no
nothing.
rerides.
And, I understand it's a hometown. It's a Calgary. It's a Canadian event. But the short round, you could tell they wanted the Canadian boys to win. And I get that. But also, you got to make it look a little less obvious.
Yeah.
So I've never had a bad thing to say about that rodeo. I love Calgary. But this year was a bummer to watch. And my biggest thing is, for all those bareback riders that didn't get a clean shot at it, that didn't get a re-ride, that got on pieces of shit, they missed out on so much opportunity staying up there for that week that they could have been down here rodeoing and winning money and going towards their finals. Instead, they had family vacations and spent money to be up there
Yeah,
Man,
it was,
it's a
it
bummer.
was my favorite. It was my as a circuit
Still
guy.
one of my
That was
favorites.
never really much more than top 30. It was my favorite week of rodeo because all those guys were up north, and so
Yeah.
Casper and Sheridan and all those. It was just like a really big added money circuit rodeo. It's like King hit that week. I always won a lot of money that week because all the big dogs were gone.
Just after seeing that, though, it'll make a guy, I think, maybe not because of the tradition and what Calgary is, but I would second guess going again because of looking at what you just said. Sheridan, but Casper, like all these things they're 20,000 added or something in each of those rodeos. It's a hard decision to make, and it did bum me out because it usually is never like that. But a lot more subcontracting, it looked like, took place. And I'm sorry, but Calgary horses, there's nothing that compares to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you bring in subs, and it's like bring in an amateur rodeo to Pete Carr's rodeos. Like it's just not it's not going to match. And one of the back riders said he's getting off on the pickup man, and the pickup man said, "Ain't you a little old to be getting on high school horses?" It's like it's a pretty crappy thing to hear when you're at the 100th rodeo.
Yeah, one of the biggest rodeos in the world.
And get
everybody. A lot of
79
those guys
pound back.
have some horses that could compete with Calgary, but they have two.
Two.
You know, they just don't
That's
have
what I mean.
they
That's
don't
the
have
problem.
the depth. Yeah, they don't have the depth. And so you start getting past 2 or 3 and next thing you know, it's going to fall. It's going to fall off pretty quickly.
Yep. And I'm like, I love that contracting company. Those guys are awesome. Their stock is awesome, but as a committee, that should not happen like that.
Yep.
I understand how hard it is with those numbers, but that was shameful on the judging and the lack of fairness. And like I said, you're robbing these guys of money every time you're doing that. And then the days that they're gone, it's just another day that you're taking money from them. So it's hard to watch, but again, that's rodeo. And that's what everyone knows when they sign up, right? It's part of the sport, no matter how infuriating it can be.
That's exactly right.
I want to get back to what I was going to ask Paul, because we were talking yesterday about you were running some numbers as well. The separation between, was it top 5 or top 10? What was it? How'd you have them broken up? 1 to 5, 5 to 10?
Yeah, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and then 16 to 25, and then 26 and below, basically. To kind of just summarize it, basically, I ran all the numbers, but between those gaps, on average, it's an $80,000 leap to go from one category to the next.
Wow.
So if you're in 26 through 50, if you're like taking all the averages, it's an $80,000 gap to get to top 25. It's another $80,000 gap to get to top 15, another to top 10, top 5.
Wow.
And so, like, by not leveling up, it's basically costing you $80,000
Wow.
to remain where you're at.
Yeah.
And no matter where a guy falls on there, if they're consistently top 25, they're missing out on, $80,000 by not being a top 15 guy. And so, like, I knew there was something to it. That's what made me want to look into it. But that was pretty eye-opening.
That's extremely
I didn't
eye-opening.
realize it was that much of a difference. So
It doesn't seem like that long ago and $80,000 got you to the finals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just crazy that there's that a $80,000 gap that deep within the top 15 is.
yeah, so here's the actual numbers to kind of show it. Obviously, the largest gap is going to be, or the largest range. It's not even the largest range. It's because it's the most consistent, but there's a big difference between 26 through 50. 26 is like much closer to top 15 than 50 is. 50th was 47,000. 26 was 91,000. So like it seems like a large gap, but the average earnings there is going to be $64,000 between those guys.
Who is at $91,000?
26th place.
2018. That's what it took to get in the finals.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
100K.
Yeah. And then so you got your 16 through 25, they're averaging out at $107,000. the range is 94 to 121. So, a little bit short of there, $30,000 gap between the top guy and the lowest. Then you get your qualifiers, which everybody's going to be a lot spread out because the guys that have a really good finals are going to win a lot of money in the average, and there's so much round money up for grabs and stuff. So, I mean, that's a huge gap. They go from 131,000 for 15th and 476,000 for first. So, like, we're talking over $300,000 is what's separating first and 15th. So that's by far the largest monetary gap. But the average of 11th through 15th was 191,000. So that's a difference of like $83,000 from those guys in that category below, the 16th to the 25th. Then we jump up another almost 100 grand to your top 10, and that's 267,000, and then your top 5 is $384,000 on average. And so, like I said, that's a $116,000 gap, $76,000 gap, $83,000 gap, and $43,000 gap. You average those out, it's 80 something, almost $80,000 even is the earnings gap between those categories of riders. And generally speaking, there's going to be injuries and all kinds. There's all kinds of factors that go into it. There's going to be guys that float up and down throughout those. There's plenty of guys this year that are or last year rather, that were in the top 50 that had been to the NFR before. But there's a lot of guys that are in the top 50 year after year after year after year, never cracking that 25th position. There's a few guys in the 25th through 16 that they've been there for a little while too, a couple of years. And so that's like my whole, I don't know what my goal is in finding these numbers, but it's like, if there's a way that you could invest in yourself to sharpen your tools, the most important tool that you have as a rodeo athlete is your body and your mind. It is yourself, at least in the rough stock. If you could invest in yourself a little bit to earn an extra $80,000 a year, like, that seems like a no-brainer to me. I didn't see that when I was an athlete.
That's because all you're seeing is the money.
But now I do.
You're just seeing the dollar signs and how little you have of it. And you cannot fathom that using that thing to work on something that is not the actual thing, if that makes sense, the bull riding, that's going to lead you to $80,000 more. It seems like witchcraft or sorcery or something like that. It's not. It's actual fact that when you invest in yourself, and I'd be willing to say that is those $80,000 gaps, that's the differences, is how much they're actually putting back into themselves as the business. And Logan made a string of posts the other day about guys that have entered his training programs. They've spent more money really than they had at times in the beginning. And they have now they've like 10x their investment in a very short amount of time. So when we say, let me ask a question, anyone listening. So if I said 365 days, you had $5,000 that you put into your training, right? So you got a coach, you're diligent, you're dedicated to that. If I told you that at the end of that 365 days, you would have $80,000 more than you did the prior year, would you do it? I'm willing to say, I hope 100% would say yes. It's that simple. It really is that simple. You just have to actually invest and do the thing. Or else you'll never know. You won't. You live out of fear and don't take chances. You won't ever get to where you want to be. And this is part of one of those things. Making these investments is getting through fear. Go ahead, Logan.
It's a mindset. And it's a scarcity mindset, right? There's this idea that you can live out of a scarcity mindset. We never have enough money. Oh, I better not do that because I don't have enough money. And I'm certainly not. We preface this. I'm not saying that I am for being foolish with your money, because I've definitely done that before too, right? But there's this idea around living out of scarcity. Never enough. There's never enough. I don't have enough money. I can't do this. I can't afford that. I can't. Their perspective is skewed. And then there's the opposite, which is this abundance mindset and realizing that it will always come out in the wash. And that allows you to see things as an investment. And I was just talking, I think, with Bo about this the other day. and understanding that like doing the proper things to prepare yourself, no matter the cost, will always come back to you in the end. We were speaking specifically about just doing the right thing, no matter what the financial obligation is, but it's the exact same principle. And I find that those that are inside the top 10 in the world have this abundance mindset. They've been down to their last dollar before, and they've given it away to somebody else for a service or for a new bull rope or for whatever, because they know that that's going to enable them to win more money. And the ones that I see consistently outside of the top 25, typically speaking, live in that scarcity mindset of like, well, I don't know if we can do that, or if we can afford that, or we there's these two different ways of viewing things, and it goes back to something as simple as the glass half full or the glass half empty. But that mindset, it infiltrates every decision that you make, even if it's not a financial decision. It infiltrates the way that you see the world and what you see as fair or as right. And it's one of the limiting factors that keeps people from elevating, is this idea that they've got to hold on, get better not spend it, got to hold on. And so again, in summary, I'm not suggesting being foolish with money, but I am saying that in order for you to make money, you have to spend money. There has to be some investment.
The scarcity mindset, fixed mindset, if you have that, you will never accomplish what you are trying to accomplish by being so scarce and holding on so tight. It will not happen. You will sit there and bang your head against the wall until you quit. It's a perception thing. And, when you were talking, I just kept, how you perceive things is up to you. And that's the cool part about it. You can flip anything any way you want, make it help you or make it not. And I get so frustrated with, especially people close to me, because that's one of my things. I'm such how you feed energy is how you're getting it back.
Yes.
What you're putting out there is what you're getting back. And you can choose to be upset or you can choose to be happy. And don't get me wrong, I get fired up and pissed off about plenty of things throughout the day. The old me would stay pissed off about those things. And the newer version of me starts breaking it down. Why did that piss me off? Why am I upset about that? Is it really that big a deal? And 98% of the time, it's really, I'd come back with it. You're being dumb. It's not a big deal. It's been such a freedom thing for me to be able to do that, to not hang on to these little things. And that just goes on to even more of the growth mindset, the expecting big things to happen, expecting growth to happen because you're putting in the work, because you're investing your money into these things. We're not saying that you can just, go hire a trainer, here's $300 a month. You have to do the thing. You have to still do the workouts in order for it to work. But people are just, they're scared of the dedication that it really takes to get to where they want to be. And it's so much easier to be mediocre and still make a living and still have fun, but not really take it seriously. And that's why the goats are who the goats are, because they do the thing. They do all of the things. Most people aren't willing to.
I think there's a little bit of like, what if I do this and it doesn't work? Like, it removes the safety net. When you go all in and you do all the things that you know you're supposed to do, then it removes you're left to believe that you're just not good enough. Yep. If you put in the work and you do the thing, then it really erodes your identity if it doesn't work, and it does not work immediately. It is one of those things. Josh Frost is such a great example of somebody that if somebody's self-confidence was going to erode before he made it to the top, it would have probably been Josh. That guy gets better every single year, and it wasn't until just 3 or 4 years ago that he really started becoming really consistent riding bulls. That is somebody who has changed his mindset. He's changed his perspective. He's changed everything about himself as far as Josh Frost, the competitor, is concerned, and for the better.
He went and got a job as a school teacher because he didn't think he was going to make it.
Yep.
And then the year of teaching school, and he was like,
Ooh,
you know what?
I'm gonna
Maybe we
make
should
it.
try that bull riding
Yeah,
thing.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna
I'm
figure
gonna
this
I
out.
turn this. Damn it, Logan. What were you just saying? The last part. Do you remember?
In investing in yourself, it erodes your self confidence.
Damn, I had something else.
You're left to believe that you're just not good enough.
When you leave everything out on the table, there's no more
yep,
excuses
I got
left
it.
to be made.
That's also a perception thing because I didn't always love this, but especially the more we've been in this business that we do now, I love when we fail because it shows us one way that doesn't work. Don't again. And it provides us with an opportunity to reframe it and win. And that's
Yep.
almost like an addiction thing to me. I freaking love it when something bombs and I'm like, oh, F, like, why did that just happen? I just spent so much time on that. Start looking through it. I'm like, I didn't solve anything for anyone. Something excited me, but I didn't frame it right. It's another
Yeah.
opportunity for me to get better at what I'm doing at this craft that we're trying to hone as coaches. Same as a rider, same as an athlete. You invest all this money, it doesn't work. Something was off. It was a wash. You still got a ton out of that, I'm sure. But also, you get this chance to just tweak some things, and it gets better. Josh's training was not perfect. It hasn't been perfect. It's gotten better every single year we've done it because and dialing it in right. But you have to be willing to take the risk in order to get the prize, and that's it. And if you're scared to lose in the risk, set a different goal, man, because a big goal like that's not for you. You got to be able to risk it all and lose it all to get there and do it again and literally lose everything and be able to do it again. Because if you look at the stories, no matter what sport or business or what world these people are in that are exceptional and excel at what they do, pretty much every single one of them has lost it all at some point and gotten it back most of the times more than once. I was listening to Mountain Ops, the supplement company. I was listening to his story the other day, the owner, and not a hunter, not from the outdoors world, came up with the product because his dad was going through some heart disease things, started figuring out this is all as a genetic thing, and none of these doctors could help him. He created a nitric oxide supplement that improves cardiovascular function. His dad started taking it, started seeing huge benefits from it, still on it, hasn't had a heart replacement, all these things. So he found this thing that works, and his biggest purpose was to help people. He wants to help people better themselves and live a healthier life. Also, very religious guy, but was talking about, his purpose that he felt God was calling him to was to help people. Didn't know exactly who that was. Anyways, he tries all these things, tries a whole company besides Mountain Ops before. Absolutely bombs. They lose every dollar they have. On top of that, his daughter gets sick, has a huge, like a liver disease. They're having to pay for all these medicines and things that are just outrageous with no insurance. He's like, I'm racking up credit card bills. But I'm still sitting here trusting the process and reframing what I just lost into something better. And through just random circumstance, people he knew, the hunting world kept getting brought up, and these people were very serious about taking care of themselves, pushing themselves hard, but there was no supplement line or quality thing out there for them, right? He knew nothing about hunting, never knew nothing about the outdoors, just knew about his product and how it could help them. Through the process, he's become an avid outdoorsman, an avid hunter. He takes his whole family hunting, his dad and mom included, every year. And they have gotten to help a whole community they never, ever thought they would have because his refusal to quit. And it's so easy to take that step away when you've lost everything or it didn't go well and say, well, I did my best, high school effort or whatever. Think about if you would have just gave it a little more effort. You already been through the hard thing once. What's another time to get more out of it? And there's so much of life that I've messed up a ton in my life, but because of those things, it's like, I can go do this hard thing one more time just to actually get where I want to be. Most people don't see the prize at the end of that other hard thing. They just see it not going well through this one journey and stopping. And it's crippling at times.
Definitely can be.
Yeah.
I thought that was an cool story. Cool story. Alrighty. What else? You guys got anything else? Wrap this up? Any fun things happening People are starting to get injured, getting to that busy time of the year. It was wild, Paul. I was
Yes.
having a convo with Paul. I said, what have you been doing? He goes, I have been on the phone all day putting out fires because it's the middle of July and this is what happens. Because,
Everybody's getting stomped on.
everyone's just shit's happening. It's rodeo, right? I've got steer wrestlers got aches and pains. I got roughies, they got aches and pains. It's just that time of the year, but it just points even more to that. You guys got to maintain. You've got to do the maintenance work. You've got to continue to help your body perform. Moms, dads, you're running kids everywhere. You're going to all these rodeos. You're sore and tired too. I know that it's easy to put the goals on the back burner, but you don't have to. And we've got lots of opportunity to help you, even if it is just 20 minutes a day. So if you're interested in kind of getting out of that funk that you're in, getting ready for, dude, school year is around the corner, okay? Kids are about to start school in a month. That means Christmas and NFR is going to be here in 2 months. So you guys got to get on it, got to stay on it. Time's flying. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. If you need help with that, hit us up. And until next time, we'll catch you later. Forgot to plug rodeo now.